Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. First off, this is my Altenew Educator Certification Program Level 1 Final Challenge. I have guidelines I must follow for the following card projects. I won't divulge too much about the specifics, it's like I'm giving away test answers or something. If you have no idea what AECP is about or why I'm making this video, I have a link in the description box all about this program Altenew offers. Okay, so for these projects, I am drawing inspiration from these three classes: Yana's Easy Die Cutting Techniques, Sarah's Irresistible Inking Techniques, and Jen's Clean and Simple Boutique Cards. If you have taken these classes, one or all three of these techniques from the previously mentioned classes will be used on one card. I am titling this video Gender-Specific Card Duos because I am making 5 cards with masculine themes and feminine themes. These products are duos and coordinate within a gender set, but also juxtapose each other since I am showing 1 or 2 products for a masculine and feminine theme. If you are a long subscriber of my channel, and by long I mean by a few months, you'll know I am inspired by street art, graphic design, urban art, so the following card designs are going to be very clean and simple, non-traditional scenes and themes. I opted for hello cards because I feel like the simple sentiment can fit many occasions, just by simply changing the handwritten note on the inside. Hello with love, hello thinking of you, hello happy birthday. From a personal standpoint, it's much easier on my stash for a one-size-fits-all occasion. One of my design tips as I'm trying to create a card project is to convey a feeling, not an image or a scene. So these cards are going to feel like boutique cards, something you may see in a letterpress shop or screen printed on shirts of young city rebellious adults. That's sort of the vibe I am going for here. I even looked at a few graphic tees from fast fashion clothing stores to get some inspiration on color palettes. Speaking of color palettes, the female gender cards are going to have a baby blue and frosty pink color palette, and the male gender cards are going to have black and red color palettes. Okay, so first project. I have here the fine alphabet die from Altenew. For the female card, I am doing a quick ombre ink blend technique using Deep Blue Sea's family of inks. Then using the letter dies, I will cut out the positive letters in a light pink cardstock for Hey You and keep a block of the negative space around the letters. I will foam mount this on the center of the card and move on to the male card. For the fellas, I'll use the liquid watercolor refill dropper in ruby red and add splatters onto my panel, concentrating on the center of the card. I thought this looked like blood, so then I added black to not make it look so explicit. Then using a specialty mirror black cardstock, I will die cut the word sup, short for what's up, just as the female card and foam mount it on the center of my cardstock. This helps give the card a bit of shine and interest. So that's the first example of this set, and let's move on to the second example. For my second project, I am using the geometric landscape background stamp set to make my male and female cards. I love these two cards because I think they're so different from what I've seen over on Instagram, and they're just totally my vibe. So I wanted to make 2 very odd scenes with a strong fast fashion influence. I heat embossed a pink and black panel using Altenew Pure White Crisp Embossing Powder. Then I cut apart the panel to create a downward and upward facing mountain. I brought back the fine alphabet letter dies and cut the word hi in a pale blue cardstock. For the feminine card, I hid the sentiment where the 2 mountains meet. Oh, and by the way, another design tip as I was making these cards. Each of these cards has only 3 design elements, and I tried not to surpass that to keep a clean and simple element to the entire set. So for this card duo, I'm having the following 3 techniques and elements: heat embossing, paper piecing, and die cutting. In other examples, you may see me switch out paper piecing for splatters or an inking technique. So for the male card, I'll still cut out a mountain, but to keep this card interesting, I took the largest circle from the Halftone nested circles die set and cut out a circle in part of the mountain. I will keep the positive piece of the die and rotate the apex of the mountain so that now it will point downwards. Keeping the paper in the die will help me plan where I want the sentiment to go. I kept the sentiment within the circle and inked it in ruby red. This sentiment is from the Sentiment Strips stamp set, and I'll show a card example with this later. I foam mounted both mountains for some height, and that finishes my second example. So that's 4 cards, 6 to go. Okay, so for this third duo of cards, I wanted to show you all that Altenew floral sets are perfect for male cards as well. My favorite thing to do when I'm thinking of masculine cards is to tap into the tattoo art realm of creativity. So while these flowers don't look like tattoos, they are inspired by bold outlines, deep contrast, and just a little aggressive. That doesn't mean you can't do this to female cards. However, doing this for me helps stretch my stamps depending on my recipient. Let's work on the female card first. For this patterned background, I cut a piece of craft foam using the coordinating die for this leaf cluster. I wanted a shadow stamp for the coordinating outline stamp, basically. Then I began stamping the background. I used Pink Diamond Crisp dye ink from the Cherry Blossom family of inks, and once I filled my panel, I used the coordinating outline stamp and Tide Blue ink to fill in the shadows. Before adding sentiment strips, I added a few splatters to help fill in the spacing boo-boos I had. That's a quick tip, by the way, for your repeat backgrounds. I cut and stacked the hello sentiment vertically on my card front, and that finishes the female card. So then for the male card, I stamped the main peony flower in the Red Cosmos family of inks. To make the darkest flower, I stamped the outline stamp and the second detail stamp in Grapevine. Then I stamped the filler layer in Ruby Red and the most detailed layer in Jet Black. For the lighter flower, I stamped the outline in Grapevine, the filler in Coral Berry, the first detail in Ruby Red, and the second detail layer in Jet Black. After die cutting both flowers, I took my Jet Black Altenew artist marker and filled in the white space around the flowers. I didn't want a strong white outline around my stamped images since I knew I was going to put these flowers on black cardstock. I added a hello sentiment strip and arranged these flowers against a black cardstock panel with white splatters. My favorite way to add splatters is to use the pure white ink spray diluted with a bit of water. The next two cards are really easy and use the ink smooshing technique to achieve these tie-dye inspired city scenes. If you have never made an ink smooshed background, all you need are your Altenew dye inks and the clear backing piece to your stamp packaging or the acetate that holds your stamps. I apply ink directly to this plastic and spray with a generous amount of water. Then either bring the cardstock to the colored water droplets and press against the paper or bring the acetate to the paper. I did this for both Razzleberry and Starlight inks. Then for the masculine card, I used Ruby Red and Jet Black liquid watercolor. The reason for the difference in ink mediums is because I didn't want the Ruby Red and Jet Black to dilute too far back and then turn pink and gray. I wanted a strong red and void black. Then over these ink smoosh panels, I applied the Sketchy Cities Abroad stamps with Obsidian pigment ink and heat set the ink with clear embossing powder over top for a shiny element. I trimmed down these panels to act as scene windows and added the hello sentiment in coordinating dye inks. In my opinion, this card duo would be the easiest to mass produce since you can make one full-sized sheet of ink smooshing, cut it down to workable panels, add the city scene and emboss, and foam mount it onto your note card. Okay, last example before I show you how I packed this set. Does anybody need to use the bathroom? So I used one of my favorites, To the Moon stamp and die set with sentiment strips. A stamp positioning tool is helpful here to get the repeat background made with the hello sentiment. I did this for both masculine and feminine sets, but I used the XOXO sentiment from the female card. I followed the color palette as the previous card duos. I used the ink pad again to add some splatters to help fix my spacing boo-boos. Then using the To the Moon stamp set, I stamped just one of the layers in a red and blue cardstock for the masculine and feminine card respectively. I die cut the moons and foam mounted it to the center of my card. Most of the work goes into the background, which is why I kept the moon simple. Okay, great, so now you have all these cards and want to give it away as a set. Personally, I love a cigar band packaging. I think it's ultra boutique and a little extra bougie. So to carry on the clean and simple theme, I took a piece of 4 1/4 by 11 inch panel of paper for both the masculine and feminine sets. I first stamped the For You sentiment on the center of these panels. I did a rough estimate on these. Then for the feminine set, I masked the sentiment with washi tape and ink blended over the tape for a faux dimensional label. I left the mask on, and then I took the Geometric Landscapes background set and stamped or embossed the stamp onto these long panels. Instead of ink blending for the masculine set, I just opted for heat embossing in white and clear. Now, depending on the height of your stack of cards, your measurements may differ. For me, I found the center of my cigar band and made score lines that are 4 1/4 wide, framing the "For You" sentiment. Then this is where the next two score lines may be different. For me, the stacks of cards were roughly 1/2 inch high. So on the outside of the 4 1/4 score lines, I added another score line 1/2 inch away. I think it's better for the cigar band to be slightly tighter than loose so that the cards don't slide out of your cigar band. Now looking back on this footage, I would add coordinating envelopes to the total height of your stack as well, but I forgot. Then it is simply folding along these score lines and wrapping your beautifully handmade gift. You can wrap a piece of twine to tie this down or glue the cigar band closed, but I need to take pictures of these cards, so I will leave it unglued for now. And that's it, 10 cards with gift packaging, 5 feminine and 5 masculine cards. And hopefully you all saw that you can transform any Altenew stamp set to fit your recipient. I have all the Altenew materials linked below. On the right is a playlist of the videos I've contributed for my Altenew Educator Certification Program projects if you'd like to see more cards. Thank you so much to Altenew for the opportunity to learn from some of the best. I'll talk to you all very soon, and have the best day.